I'm Michelle Charters. I'm the director of Project Immunize Virginia, and we're here at our 11th Vaccine Update Conference and have the opportunity to talk to some of our speakers. We're here with Dr. Paul Offit, the Division Director of the Chief of Infectious Disease at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And he's also the author of Deadly Choices. And welcome, Dr. Offit. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks, Michelle.
Why are we seeing more and more breakouts of infectious diseases when they could be prevented by vaccines?
We're starting to see outbreaks now of whooping cough, outbreaks of measles, outbreaks of mumps, and the primary reason for that is that some parents are choosing not to vaccinate their children, to leave them unprotected. And so now we're seeing outbreaks the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. The whooping cough outbreak that's currently going on in California is the biggest outbreak we've seen since 1947. It's preventable, and that makes it unconscionable.
What can we do to stress the importance of vaccines and their safety? Any best practices you'd like to share that you know of across the nation?
I think what we have to get better at is to get parents to understand that a choice not to get a vaccine is not a risk-free choice. It's just a choice to take a different risk, and now we're learning with all these outbreaks that it's a much more serious risk. It's just, it's time for us to re-explain to parents why it's so important to get vaccinated, because if not, what's going to happen is these outbreaks are going to continue, children are going to continue to suffer and be hospitalized and die, and we can't let that happen.
That's important advice. What gaps exist in vaccine education in the United States?
I think, you know, when my parents were young parents, getting their children vaccinated was easy because they saw these diseases, they saw what they could do. For me, I mean, I grew up at an age where I suffered many of these diseases too. Measles, mumps, German measles, chickenpox, I got all those diseases. So I knew how bad they could be, how uncomfortable they felt. So it was easy for me to get my children vaccinated. Now, most young parents today not only don't see these diseases, they didn't even grow up with these diseases. So for them, vaccinations become a matter of faith. And I think we've gotten a little complacent as healthcare providers, as healthcare educators, in that we haven't felt that we've had the need to educate because, you know, vaccines were something that was so obvious to do. Not so obvious anymore. So I think we really need to build up an infrastructure for educating about vaccines. Again, we need to explain ourselves again, because what's going to happen if we don't is what's happening now, is that these outbreaks are occurring and they may only get worse unless we intervene with excellent education.
Why has the anti-vaccine movement gained ground in the United States? And should the public be concerned about so many preventable outbreaks?
I think we ask a lot of our citizens. I mean, we ask people to get vaccines to prevent 14 different diseases when children are young. That can mean as many as 26 inoculations in the first few years of life. It can mean as many as 5 shots at one time. And that's a lot to ask. I mean, from a parent's standpoint, they watch their child get laid down, and vaccination's a violent act against the child's will. You're inoculating them with this biological fluid that most people don't understand. It's not at all surprising, actually, that parents have concerns about vaccines, because it's kind of a frightening event to watch, especially when you're not compelled by the fear of the diseases. So I think the ground is fertile for that kind of activity, but we have to meet that resistance with education, because if we don't, then we're just going to continue to see these outbreaks.
What can medical professionals do to convince parents and the public that vaccines are necessary and safe?
In the past, we could convince people by showing them this is what the disease looks like. And when somebody like Jenny McCarthy says, "I'll take the frickin' measles every time," because that, to quote her eloquently, that's what she said, it tells you how successful we've been. You know, I mean, anybody who grew up with measles, and I certainly as a medical student in Baltimore saw what measles looked like. I mean, in North Baltimore, it was awful. And it tells you how successful we've been. When Jenny McCarthy says, "I'll take the measles," she has no idea what measles looks like. She has no idea that half of the people who were infected with measles would have lung involvement, some would have severe pneumonia, a certain percentage would have the virus infect their brain, causing encephalitis. Measles made you sick. I mean, measles caused 100,000 children to be hospitalized every year and several thousand to die every year. I think when you say, "I'll take the measles every time," it's really in many ways a testament to how successful vaccination has been. Not only have we eliminated the disease, we've eliminated the memory of the disease, and that's where we have to, as educators, be better. We have to, in some ways, reinstill that memory of the disease without actually having the disease come back.
Thank you for your time and sharing your expertise. And thank you for watching.